welcome to A Truth Worth Living. Thank you guys for joining us on this wonderful October. Wow, we got some cool weather coming in,
Yeah.
but we really appreciate each and every one of you joining us. Again, welcome to our podcast. We're kind of, what should I say, going by ear on tonight. And trust me, there's a lot in our ear in this culture and the news, the media, and everything that's going on. There's a lot of stuff happening. And I do want to say, Truth or Living podcast is brought to you by Seven the Oath for Life in Salina, Texas, and also AFAM Conventions Worldwide, along with Velocity Performance, which is our track and field team for our youth. Again, wonderful information coming in all over the world, and some horrible information coming in all over the world, and some indifferent information coming in all over the world. And I guess I want to start this podcast off by talking about the what you call it, the peace treaty between Israel and Hamas, brokered by President Trump and the United States and some other world leaders. I think this is kind of one of those things that people were looking forward to, but at the same time, not sure if it could happen. And I think stuff like this is very important because it gives us a snapshot in time of what we see in the Bible and prophetically what God said would be and what would not be. And I think it's a lot of times the people of God get in trouble because we're always trying to figure out a way to change what God said would be. Prophecy said that there would be no peace in the Middle East, there would be no lasting peace. But yet here we are with a brokered peace treaty between Israel and Hamas. And I don't know, when I look at things biblically, oh, and I do want to say I keep messing this up, but to our lovely co-host Angel Hearst and to the man Aaron Williams,
Yes, sir.
I and we spend so much time together. I think sometimes I think people don't realize how much time we spend together. We're not just on this podcast seeing each other and talking about things, but we spend a lot of time together, so we get to go through a lot of this stuff together. But back to that peace treaty, years ago, I remember when this is back in the 1980s. So this was when I first had my real hard go at going to church and being a believer and all that. And I remember my pastor at that time, he talked about Israel, and he said that Israel had become an official nation again in 1948. I remember it being such a big thing to think about because there was all these things going around about when Jesus was coming back. And there's a scripture that says that it has a part in that it says the budding of the fig tree. Well, when you do a little research, you know that a fig tree takes basically 40 years to kind of go through that process. And I remember someone saying, wow, Israel has become a nation in 1948. 40 years from that time is 1988. And I remember talks at that time, people talking about Jesus coming back in 1988. They thought the rapture was going to happen then. There was a lot of stuff going on back then, that was surrounding that. And I remember thinking in my mind, I'm like, wow, um, it's interesting that we're looking at Israel, physical Israel, to determine what spiritually would happen. And and here we are again at another phase. How many years ago has that been? 30 something years ago? Almost 40.
Mhm.
Yeah, um, almost 40. And here we are again talking about what does this mean in the pantheon or in the arena of end time prophecy. What should the church be looking for? I don't know about you two guys, but I am not. I love the fact that people aren't dying, that I love the fact that the hostages have been released, but I do not trust a peace treaty. I don't. I don't know what you guys think about it. I just do not trust a peace treaty. And the reason why I say that is because peace treaties are brokered between people who are not spiritual, who don't actually know the truth. Because if they know the truth, Jesus said that there would be no peace. The only peace that there's going to be is in Jerusalem. And Jerusalem is the spiritual church. So, and you see all of this going on, and I don't know, and I want to get y'all's perspective on as it pertains to this and prayer, because we know that prayer is bowing to the will of God. But if people are steadily praying for stuff to cease and God said it will be, what does that do? You want to say something about that, Angel? I mean, I'm just thinking about that. What are we to pray for? Because I mean, we know what we're to pray for, but I think that a lot of church don't know.
Yeah, I think it's really important to pray God's will concerning the times that you're in. I remember you teaching a message about times, time, and timing, and the difference between the three. And I think we're in a really sensitive time, but I think timing and times play a part in it too, because a lot of times you don't know where you're going if you don't know the history of a matter. And then timing is really important because there's so much stuff happening so fast. And we have a lot of knowledge. We have a lot of technology now that, I mean, can take us across the world while we're in one room. And so I think prayer is important because it allows you to bow to the will of what God has already said and stated about this time.
Mhm.
And then you can feel the urgency. Like, there is
Mm,
a major urgency in the air. Like, if you it's just you don't even really have to be super deep in it, because I think a lot of time people think, "Well, God praying God's will, I really need to know, and I need to know." Listen, you can just really just center yourself
Yeah.
and just say, "God, what is your will?" And you can feel the urgency that there is no peace. There's no peace in any other area in our world right now. So to call a peace treaty, I think it's a by the book thing. Like, I
Yes.
think that's something that is going to help ease the pain in Hamas, in Israel. But I think our leaders in the government, in the public, in the government arena, they know how to play their cards well.
I know. Yeah.
And they know how to play the people well to say, well, this is what we're going to say we're doing, but we know it ain't peace. Like,
mm,
and we can see publicly that there isn't peace,
yeah. Yeah.
even past the peace treaty. So I think it's just really important to bow to the will and to not necessarily know what's coming verbatim. I know exactly what's going to happen, but just feel the season, feel the time. I think God gives us that as a gift because he's within us, and we can know and we can sense what's happening without, we might not know the details, but listen, we're in a war in every other area. There's social media wars like crazy. There's war in our health. There's war in our food. I feel like if you really look at it, it's like they're trying to get us in every way. Like,
Mm,
they're trying to get us. That's how I feel sometimes. Even when you look on the back of your cereal box, it's like, are these chemicals in our food? This feels like a chemical. So I think that it's just really important to bow to his will so that you can know the season and you won't be tricked by a peace treaty.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I agree 100%. Um, I like I said on Sunday, we're so desensitized now because we see stuff now. You remember years ago when stuff bad used to happen? It was like every now and then. Now it's every day, every single day. You know, and I don't know, you guys notice this, that during this government shutdown, they said there's been government shutdowns before. Why? I don't remember 'em.
Right.
I mean, it's been government shutdowns, but the amount of knowledge about it was so minute and little that you didn't even know what's going on. Now you know exactly what's going on, and it's like people don't even see the severity of it, that your government is shut down.
Yeah.
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 I was listening to a podcast and it was talking about all of the things, like, open up your eyes and see, with this government shutdown, all of the things that you're not noticing
Mhm.
anymore and how the funding is being limited on just everyday things. I even heard a podcaster talking about, like, and how everything connects in some way, because I really believe in some way this government shutdown has to do with something with our weather. Because we used to live in Florida.
Yeah.
Why was there not a hurricane in Florida this year? We have
See, I wasn't
always
even
had
gonna bring
hurricanes.
that up. I wasn't gonna bring that up. I think we okay, there
Yeah,
he
we
comes
did.
back.
Yeah, he's back.
I was not going to bring that up, but that is of particular importance. I have not said this publicly. I said it to a few people. One of the factors outside of it was just the timing of God. But one of the things I kept feeling about Florida, I don't know why I felt like I needed to be out by a certain time. I think there's some type of transition and transaction that is happening in this world that it's like God has his people on a timing. And this timing, you must meet it in order to be at the right place of exchange and change and transformation. There's a lot of things happening. And if you are out of the place of it, it's not like no one is ever out of the will of God, if I can say that. Nobody is ever out of the will of God. You're either on the bottom or the top of the two-edged sword. You're never out of the will of God. And there is nothing that man can do to change the will of God. I don't care how much we fight God. We fight God to try to keep from happening what he says is going to happen. It's going to happen anyway. And that was one of those things. I felt like Florida I just needed to be out of there. Uh, I needed to get, and for those of you that don't know, we're in Texas now. We're in Salina, Texas. And it has been the most ordained move that we've had because it's the timing of God. God sent us here at a certain timing, and that timing is revealing itself to be correct in the results that we're having. How God has favored us and how God has opened doors. And it was like there was not a adaptation period. It just went right in and it's right into the community and blended. I hate to use the word blended, but it's the only one I got. Right in, and it's just been phenomenal. So yes, you are correct. That Florida thing, that tripped me out. I looked at all of those hurricanes. You see how they turned at a certain
That's
point.
crazy. When has that ever happened? They always hit. They always land. And I'm just like, it's something brewing that I just pray that the believer in the body is, at least you sense it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a lot of things happening that are just out of the norm, and that definitely was one that I realized. I was like, that's true.
Hmm. Yep.
It's October, no hurricanes.
But I really do believe that when one hit, I think there's one that's coming that and a lot of people say, well, why would you say that? Listen, again, when God says a thing is, and we can try to judge good and bad all we want to on what God does. God is in control of all of it.
That's right.
That's the first thing that believers need to get in their head. I don't expect the world to get that. I expect believers that who search for the truth of God, who look at the word of God to understand that there are certain things that God said would be. If God will send his own people into captivity into Babylon because of their pagan worship, we had like there God is only obligated to do stuff that make people feel good. And that's just not the case. And I think Aaron, at one point you had made a statement, it was a while back, about the organized church and how everything just had to be about these buildings. And I think, like for us, God never allowed us to be a church that it was about buildings.
Yeah.
It just never could be. We were on the move too much. I hate to say we were a mobile church, but that's the best way that I could think about it at the time. And it's like you see all these people invested in buildings, in their little programs, but they have no truth. It's just religious movement. And I mean, it's just really crazy. Um, you just look at it. Look at how things are happening now with these mega churches. Look at all the scandals that's going on.
Yeah.
And I have no condemnation for anybody. I don't. My heart absolutely goes out to those who experience these things because it can be devastating to families, to people who are involved. But God has a system, and that system is going to work no matter what. As it pertains to prayer, we have to, I think more than ever, prayer is warranted, but we can't pray like we have in the past. People have always prayed to God for comfort. And I just think at this point, we got to pray to God for his will. And I think what God is doing at this point is through prayer, through his people bending to his will, he's now showing everything. Everything gets showed for what it is. Nothing can hide anymore.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, I think right now, just in the body from what I'm noticing is we do people do want to be in control. They do want to be in control of their own lives, their own destiny. I was doing some research on the idea of the American dream, and that whole idea. It's like, you ask someone how they're doing at work and they're like, yeah, just living the dream, right? That's just something we say, but it's just like, you know the culture and the system has one way of viewing things, which, it tells you to be in control, and, you can make the life that you want to live, and you can do anything regardless of your background, how you come up, whatever. You can be who you want to be as long as you give yourself to the system. That's what it's requiring. Give yourself to it. And as you give yourself to it, then you can have some rewards, but they don't tell you about the depression, the anxiety, and everything else that comes with it. But all that to say, the church has adopted, that mentality. And I think that we miss these scriptures and the text that discusses the idea of God being someone who understands the end. Like, he's already finished the plot, the ending. He's done it. Like, before everything was created, before everything, we came about, he already finished it all. Everything's done. So I think that, instead of looking, I think the church gets in trouble because instead of looking in the word and concerning the scriptures and what is written, everybody's looking at, you know, and like we're talking about the peace treaty and all these different things. All this stuff is just like, man, it's like, it's man-made. The American dream is man-made, it's man-driven. It's like, the whole idea of going to college and somehow, going to college and getting a degree is like this idea of success. And then from there, you get married, you have a kid, you buy a home. But nobody talks about the factors in that change. You don't take into account inflation. You don't take into account that homes that used to be 30,000 are now $500,000, $600,000. You don't talk about how interest rates, even during COVID, were like 2%, but now they're like 6 and 7%. It's like, so you're talking about a payment for a $300,000 home would have been like right at $1,000 is now 3,000. It's like a month. It's just like there's so many different things, and we don't understand God from the perspective that he has already written it, is already done, and he does not change. Man changes, and we like to control things and manipulate things and be in control of our own destiny and dreams. That's the American dream. And that's what we fed to other nations, and they have adopted, which is why everybody wants to be here. And that's just what it is. And I could go off into that, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay on point. But That's but that's the whole God has already done it, man. We just have to submit and bend to what God has already written. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you said something important. You talked about COVID and how things were at 2% during that time. I've learned that a lot of people became millionaires off the misery of the world. It's funny when you look at pistis, which is our word for faith, and it means self-denial. And you look at how really in order to advance and gain a lot in this world, you have to do it on the backs of those who are oppressed or in some type of, I guess, belittling situation. A lot of people became millionaires. You know how many people were buying up property during that time when companies were folding? They were buying companies, people losing their homes. Remember at one point they were doing some kind of thing where it was helping people to keep their homes because of not being able to work or whatever. But you look at it now and it's funny to watch that whole process play out and people become millionaires and watch this, they give God the glory. God did it, but then they don't think about what had to happen in order for
Yeah.
God to do it.
All the
Yeah.
people who God didn't do it for, who lost while they gained.
Yeah, and I know that's a principle in life. To him that have will be given, to him that have not will be taken. That's a principle of life, and not changing subjects here, but that brings you back to this, what is it? No King
Oh,
protest? Is that what it's called? No King protest?
yeah.
Let me say this right here. Let me get in trouble just for a moment. I just don't understand the ignorance of groups. I don't. It is so amazing, and I mean, guys, we're talking about millions of people involved in this. And when you sit and listen at these people talk, when they're being interviewed, none of them can articulate properly what they are protesting about. It's just their dislike of individuals or party or whatever. They cannot tell you. I was watching this one guy he was walking around doing what you call a poll, but he was asking people questions. He was like, if I tell you that President Trump did this, that, and the other, and they were like, yes, he did it, and that is just horrible. And then they turn around and say, but what if I tell you that Barack Obama was the one that did that?
I love those.
It is just so funny to watch people because you can tell they're moving off of a movement that is purely emotional. Is intellectually with the high up people that started. But when they get involved, they have no clue what this thing is about. They just know, I just need to be involved in this. It is crazy. I watched some of the footage from the protest, and it is ridiculous. You had people in there that said they were believers. And I'm like, you're running after the stuff. You barely know the Bible. You barely know the Bible. You need to be somewhere where you could be learning the truth and the knowledge of God, but yet you out here protesting something that you can't even
And I didn't see
articulate.
you protesting when they took prayer out to schools.
Okay, let's talk about that.
No, you wanna know why? Because they say that there's a separation between church and
Church and
state, which
state.
they don't even understand that, part. That has nothing to do with, uh, um, separating your religion from the state or politics. That is foolish to even think like that. Then what was Daniel? What was Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? What was Joseph? What were all of these people? As a matter of fact, if you look at the book of Deuteronomy, it is a political book. It governed the life of Israel. As a matter of fact, there was no state without religion when it came to God's people, and there should never be. How do you separate it? How do you separate your vote from your conviction? What criteria do you use to separate the vote from the conviction? That's what I could not understand.
You would literally be a double-minded. man unstable in all his ways. If you can consciously live and say, I will vote against my personal belief. I really don't understand that. I can't wrap my mind around it. And I watch this group think, like we're in this group think era where if I can find just a half of something that I have in common with Aaron, we're on the same team. And it's like you lose all of your own moral code
Yeah.
because, oh, I don't like the way one person said something. He didn't have to say it that way. And then you don't remember that you felt this way 8 years ago. You felt
Mm.
this way 16 years ago. You felt that I don't ever understand that. We're gonna cycle around, and in the next presidential election, you're gonna feel how you felt the last it's a cycle, and it's this and to me, I'm like, we don't see that there's a group of elites somewhere who is just running a game on us, and they're just gonna continue to run this game
Yeah.
on us, and we're gonna continue to fall for it. And then
Angel,
when the church gets attacked, we have no backing, we have no foundation because we're in groupthink.
but you know what's bothering me? This ain't 22-year-olds. These are 50, 60, 70-year-old people acting foolish. Elderly people are not the elderly people I grew up
We
with.
used to. I agree. I agree.
You could always look for solid thinking from elderly people, but these 50, 60, 70, 80-year-olds now are worse than the 20 and 30 years old. It is crazy. I watched a woman just go at this man even after he proved what she was saying was wrong. She still kept going. I'm like, man, how do younger people find the way to go if y'all are off? It is literally crazy to watch that whole thing. The elderly people, it's not just the youngest. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking more of the younger people starting to come around and catch on than the older ones.
Yeah, they're becoming better critical thinkers. And even in the church, I'm like, I watched a interview of a pastor who literally got canceled by his whole community because he got summoned to the White House. And I
Crazy.
think that is the most ignorant thing because if a leader of a country is calling for assistance in an area that you are an expert in, which is religious matters, church matters, why would I, as a parishioner of your church or somebody in your community, get upset when I believe in your views enough to go to your church? So then, yes, I would love for you to go to the White House and contribute in whatever way you're being asked to contribute. But this man literally like got canceled, lost all his connections, lost all his church members.
Crazy.
A lot of his church members had to start over on virtual, had to do a virtual church. He lost his building, lost everything.
That's crazy.
And I'm like, where are we as just I don't know, common. Sometimes I think it is always spiritual. First that which is natural, after that which is spiritual. But sometimes it's also like common sense. Like if you want change in whatever area, why don't you go and be that change? And if those people are calling you for your assistance, why would I get upset because I'm like, "Oh, well, we don't like the president, so you don't need to go." That's crazy to me.
Understand that concept. I saw a man the other day get put off the plane because he had a Make America Great Again hat on.
Mhm.
I don't own one. I don't want one.
Mhm.
He had one on, and so when he got on the plane, he took the hat off and put it on his lap. And some of the people on the plane with that said, "Put the hat on again. We want to take a picture of you with the hat on." So he put it on and took a picture of it. And the airline stewardess came over and told him that he has to be removed from the plane because of the hat. And I'm like, in my mind, I remember on planes, people used to have on hats that had vulgar language on
Yeah.
it.
Still do.
Yeah, they still do
Still
that.
do.
And they said that it's a disruptive. That's what the pilot told him, that it was disruptive and you have to follow the instructions of the stewardess. And he said, I had the hat off. He said, I just put it back on because somebody asked me to take a picture of it. He said, and put it back on to take a picture, which he shouldn't even had to explain that
Right.
really. But then listen at what the pilot said to him though, because he was recording and the pilot didn't know it at first. The pilot said to him, we're gonna have to do this, but I would complain if I was you. I would write this up if I was you. And then when he found out the man was recording, he was like, "But you can't record. You can't be recording." And then he changed his whole tone.
Mm,
I'm like, it is so funny. We live in a society now where nobody can really pinpoint who the people are that have the issue. Number one. And number two, everybody follows after that thinking that somebody else has got a problem with it when the whole time it's just an idea that having a hat on is somehow disruptive. When did we start doing that? I mean, think about it. We've flown LGBT flags and all of that stuff. We've put up statues of criminals in the Black community and called them heroes because they were killed by the police. I mean,
We've let transgender and what is it? Fluid sexual people read and come in our schools, read to our children. Like those are things that are
that's
actually
wild.
offensive. That's offensive. And when I argue it or when you as a person argues it, you're the bad person. But your argument is, but I just don't think it's something that our children should be exposed to. I'm not even attacking you because I could, but I'm not even attacking you. I'm just saying it shouldn't be something our children are exposed to. And something like that causes an uproar, but you're going to kick somebody off of a plane for a hat. That's crazy.
and let me say this is going to sound vulgar. Okay. Let's go ahead and get this disclaimer. So those of you that are listening to this, for the time that I'm speaking, just mute if you don't. But I don't understand this. I am against anything that God did not put in his order. All right. I'm against that. I don't condemn people who have struggles with certain ways of life. I don't have no problem with that. That's your business. That's between you and God. But what is it about? This is going to be so controversial. What is it about a man who is attracted to another man and that man is dressing like a woman and acting like a woman? Why don't he just get a woman?
That's a question that I have yet to have answered. Yet.
I don't understand that. If you were attracted to a male, then why not find a male? Why do the male have to act like a woman in order for there to be a relationship? I don't understand that. You're going to dress up like a woman. You're going to have surgery and do all this stuff like a woman, but yet the other partner is attracted to a male. You're no longer portraying that, and vice versa.
That is
You think, and see, people
Really?
don't think about that is the logical thing. That is the logical argument that you go with people with, because if you're attracted to men, then why would you find one that's acting like a woman? And I mean, I know it's not funny, but it's just hilarious in the sense of the common sense part of it.
it's common sense. And it's like, well, but it's like you can break it down in that exact way. People are still going to they're
They're
still
still
going
gonna
to fight
have
it. And they're still going to
a
believe
thesis statement.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It is really crazy.
And then you're not gaining the benefit from what you got to make that part up too. It's really weird. And I mean, there's things that I'm sure I struggle with that to them they're like, well, that's weird. But that one just takes the cake for me. Like I do not get it. I also do not understand an attraction to children. Like I don't understand that.
And you notice that our society is getting closer and closer to
Yes.
the acceptance of it.
Yes. 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 There's whole groups. There's whole groups where like men loving, I have to look it up. I forgot the acronym, but it is a growing community of adult men who love little children and they're making a stand and a statement. And it's almost like the same ushering in as LGBTQ to the point that they're adding alphabets and they're falling into that. And it's just like, what is this? Where are we? We weren't here 40, 50 years ago. And literally, if somebody was like that, they would be shunned
It's
and
crazy.
pushed out of the community, but, like, now it's like, "No, but you can still work at a school if you want to. It's cool." "Excuse me? They have a record."
I don't understand it. I just I don't understand it. Like, again, I want to say that I don't have any ill will towards anybody. Whatever everybody struggles with something. Everybody got something that they dealing with. I understand that. But it's just the deception, and then you're trying to make everybody else sanction
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
is what upsets me.
Yeah.
That's the biggest
I
part.
have a problem with that. Have your issues, but don't try to make me
Have 'em
glorify.
with
I got to put up a sign in front of my house now saying, "I love you, your stuff." Yeah, I love you, but I don't love your stuff. But that's the logic that we have in this society. And I hate to say it. No, I don't. I be saying stuff sometimes. I don't mean that. I do not hate it. This falls on in one sect category of people, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. There's no decency anymore. They might as well kick the word taboo out of the dictionary because nothing is a taboo anymore. Nothing is indecent anymore. I mean, people just do whatever they feel because they know that there's going to be some support behind it some kind of way. You don't shame a person. You don't do this. So, I mean, when I grew up, my mom and dad didn't care nothing about no shaming you. They had told you whatever they had to tell you right then and there. And you know what? I did not grow up with a complex like, oh, I'm less than this because my mom and my dad, I didn't grow up with that. I think a lot of times what the problem is that whenever truth is being told to somebody, there's somebody on the side that pulls them to the side and try to soften the blow. And when you try to soften the blow, that gives people that victim mentality, and that victim mentality, they run with it. It's crazy. LaRon, you're gonna have to put what you call those things, warning, explicit material on this one.
explicit content.
Yeah, because
Do
this
you
is
Sorry, I mean to cut you I
no,
didn't
go
mean
ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you think? Because I do think that is so true more than any other time have we it's like we're being so desensitized to not sometimes even see what's right in front of our doorstep because we're so consumed with whatever, we want to be in at the time. But do you think there's an attack on, like, our freedom even as an American citizen? Because I feel like these topics that we're talking about where, I mean, you really are getting censored for saying something that is just common sense. And then it's like, but I have to go with you, but you can still argue with me,
Yeah.
but then I
Yeah.
get canceled instead of it just being like, well, we both just don't agree. Like, do you think that's an attack on our freedom?
Of course. The first thing that has to happen with the degradation of a society is that you have to muffle the ability of those who would speak against the movement. You have you have to find a way to do that. And you have the way that they find a way to do this is through emotion. They go after people emotionally because we go through in life. So it's easy to convince people that they're a victim in life when it's just life. Everybody goes through it. So you get these people that come along who have nothing going on. I hate to say this. No, I don't. Why I keep saying that? You have these people coming along that have nothing going in life, and somebody hands them a victim card, and now they're front and center.
There's
Attention.
viral.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
viral. Forget telling the truth. You tell the truth, you're gonna get 4 or 5 shares and maybe 16 likes. But go in there as a victim, and
Mm.
boy, you will see all kind of people show up. You wanna know why? And I've learned this too. There are a group of people who associate with victims because they themselves are sympathetic because of what they've went through. But then you have those people who profit from the victimization of others. There are some people that, and I'm gonna say it like this: there are some black leadership in the black community that need racism to keep going because that is the way that they make their money. They make
Yeah.
their money off of those that are less fortunate than them crying racism, and then they going in and say, yes, that is racism. Let me help you
Yep.
this out to the world. And then they charge them all this money to be the spokesperson, Al Sharpton, Jesse
Mhm.
Jackson. But anyway, they do this stuff. And then this is our leadership. These are the ones that are in the forefront. But I often tell people, I say, if you notice something, you don't ever see Al Sharpton on a national level until something happens. Why isn't he out in the Black community right now saying, listen, let's start an initiative where we help our Black communities raise up their standard, clean up their communities, do all the things. You don't ever see no initiatives like that from him on a national stage. It's always when something happens,
Yeah.
then he shows up with that perm. Yeah, we got to
It's
put
bad. It's bad
explicit
though. Sorry.
material on there. But it's really sad.
Crazy.
And you have to call them out now. You have to. And somebody should have called them out years ago. And I'm pretty sure there were people calling them out years ago. They just didn't have no platform. We didn't have social media. But it's ridiculous. And listen, there will always be racism from every angle. There are listen, I live in a community right now where there are certain groups of people and they stick together. Do we call that racism? Sometimes it's just simple discrimination. Discrimination is somebody could say, I'm discriminating because the three of us ain't none of us light skinned. Only one thing he want is brown skin people on his podcast. See, it's always an angle by which people use to bring about and discuss their unrest about their own place in life.
That's that.
And do you feel like people associate or gravitate towards that because of like a lack of identity? Like, do you think that that's what it is? Because even in like my study, like today, just the, like I said, the whole thing of like the American dream, right? And the psychological side and issues that stem from that. And one of the things that, you just mentioned concerning, you know, the identity of the individuals, that's a part of the psyche, the psychological issues that stem from people falling short of the American dream. That's really what I was getting into. The like
Yes,
what
yes.
comes from falling short of the American
Yep,
dream, right?
yep.
We're taught X, Y, and Z, get the home, do whatever, but what happens when you fall short? What happens when by the time you're 30, you're supposed to have a home, you're supposed to be working towards, putting all this money away. You're supposed to be, what happens when you're not in that place? What happens psychologically? And as a believer, that we shouldn't be chasing that no ways. We shouldn't be going after the patterns of the system anyway. So I just wonder because those who it just seems like identity wise, those who are giving their energy to the race cards and they're giving their energy to the victimization and all these different types of things, like it's like where does your identity lie? I wonder, like just if that is a just like the key or like the thing, like they just, but anyways, I just thought about that, figured out, put it out
No,
there.
no, but you're correct though. We live in a time that's unlike any other in history. Why? Because number one, the lie and the truth are in plain sight. They're both in plain sight. This is funny because you would think that the only thing that you have to do now is show people proof. Proof is not enough.
No.
If proof does not fit the mentality that they're in, they will reject it knowing it's proof. And but see, this is how this has been cultivated over the years. I said that back in I graduated in 1989. And I remember very clearly hearing this in my head. This is the last of this kind of people. And that kind of blew my mind. I knew after me, I was like, some stuff's going to go on that is just not right. There was a dropping of the ball on teaching children, particularly you guys a little bit younger than no, a lot younger than y'all's generation. There was going to be a dropping of the ball of teaching just common decency and what's right. Some things are just you don't have to even think about them. You actually grow up knowing that it's wrong. You know it's wrong stealing. The reason why you know it's wrong stealing because you hid when you did it.
Yeah.
So you know it's wrong. It's not like it's something that, well, I didn't know that. Yes, you did. You did it while everybody wasn't looking. That's why you did it when everybody wasn't looking, because you knew it was wrong. But nowadays, this group has been fed so much that the world owes it so much that it does not see common decency. It does not. It's just if I feel good, that's decent. That's what they think decency is. If I want something to be, that's the truth. And you see it now, the truth and the lie both are in plain sight. They are not covered by anything. They're not dressed in anything. They're just in plain. And it goes back to show that in latter times, some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. And we know doctrines of devils is the doctrine of self gratification, self preservation, and selfishness.
Yes.
So that's what it is.
And I feel like I hate to say this, but it really is a lot of this falls back on the church because we elevate wolves
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that is their doctrine. I
Yes.
watched a video today and I love this person as a singer. I don't know him as a pastor, but I watched a video today of Marvin Winans and he's I guess he's campaigning for a building, and a lady gets up and she gives her offering. She gives $1,200 for a certain seed. She gives another seed for $200. And he goes, well, that ain't what I asked for. She walks up with her son. And see, I had a hardcore pastor that acted out. I almost got PTSD. I was like, this is why. I watch my own mama and daddy go through this junk. But he said, well, that ain't what I asked for. And she said, well, I'm going to work on it's like, this woman is with her child and raised $1,200 for something that she can't even visibly see. Cause we don't really know if you're actually building something. From what a member of the church said, they've been building this ministry for almost 30 years, something to that degree. I might be wrong, but it was like a very vast number of years.
You're not wrong.
They're still campaigning. So she said, well, it's 1,200 and 200. He said, well, I didn't ask for that. So she said, well, I'm still working on the other 800. He said, well, I didn't ask for that either. And I'm like, and people are in the audience laughing. And then the next person is getting up pledging. I'm like, this is insanity that this is what the church really has come to. It is a money. What did Jesus turned over? What the money,
Money changers table.
the money changers table? It is no longer a house of prayer. It is a den of thieves. Go ahead.
I was going to say because I did see there's a guy who actually who posted like a longer clip. So in the clip, he was actually sharing. He was saying that look, if you're gonna sow 1,000, then you put another 1,000 on it. If you sow $4, $2, $1, it don't matter. If you sowing something, then it needs to be in a certain increment. That's what he was saying.
Thank you for the context.
So he corrected her in saying, okay, so you gave 1,000 plus the 235 or whatever it is, but those were not the instructions. So you're out of order because those were not the instructions. Now, still,
listen, I appreciate the context. Don't care.
He wanted
That's
it in
crazy.
increments of 1,000, right?
Yeah, it was supposed to be.
So I guess he's saying double of what you gave.
It was supposed to be something. It was something like that to where it was like this. It just. But like you said, I just want to put the context. I know some people might listen and they're like, hey, well, well, he did say if you give $4, it's okay, But I just want to put that out there. But
okay, I got what you're saying. I appreciate the context.
But still,
I do.
But still, it's like, come on now, we all working towards.
Crazy.
On top of that, let's be honest. Churches ain't got no business
That part.
videoing offerings.
Oh, that's a good
Because
point.
if a person see an offering in the middle of, they don't know the context of anything.
Right.
In this climate, you let people give what they want to give.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
That's the point.
make no.
Yeah.
This is unto the Lord.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you putting a
Because I
certain
mean,
number on it, it's like, what are we doing?
yeah, and I understand that if you saying my church, we want all the members to give a certain amount because we got a goal that we're trying to do. Okay, that's cool. But you got to make sure that that's not being put in the situation where people can look at it and say, he shamed her because she gave all this money and he still was dissatisfied with what she gave. You can't allow that. That's why
Yeah.
I don't even allow videoing of offering because, and y'all know how we do offering. We don't even do offering like that. We
Mm-mm.
just tell people whatever God's put on your heart to give, you give, and that be the end of it. But yeah, I that's crazy.
But you know what? That's a good point too. I think we should be more responsible with how we're viewed because
Yeah.
we already have this hue over us, and it's just like it does. I get it, and he might have even had like a principal teaching or something that was like God's
But
gonna bless you a certain way, give this way.
people still saw it. And in those comments,
Oh, it
people are like, this is
probably
exactly
was.
why I don't go to church. This is exactly why.
And he was not pleasant with his delivery. It was
Yes.
comical, but he wasn't pleasant. And you can have campaign and said, I need you to bring this amount. If somebody does not have that amount, there's nothing that neither one of us can do about it. And if that person is saying, well, I'm bringing what I have, that's what it is. And then it's an Ananias and Sapphira situation at that point. If they're giving and they have it and they're not giving what they should have, that's between them and God. You know what I'm saying? And but as far as you humiliating that person, it's just
Yeah.
like on the camera, you're
Yeah,
adding on to
Yeah.
the ongoing issue of,
and
so
these are members. You gotta remember, members of an organization should be dealt with like members of an organization,
yeah.
not general public.
Yes. Yeah.
If I had an issue with what somebody did in giving, I'm not gonna put it on cameras. I'm just gonna talk to them afterwards. Can I have a meeting with you? I said such and such, and this is the
Yeah.
process that we have. I just want to make sure of that. To me is a better way to handle it because if I talk to them in confidence, then can't nothing get twisted out of place unless that person twisted.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
that woman may be fine, but
Or
everybody else that heard it.
Right.
she could be one of those defiant saints that always do everything he say not. There's
Exactly.
some saints who's like, I'm always gonna do the opposite of what you said just to get on your gun in your skin. And he
Yep.
could have had a moment at that point of like, see, you're doing it again. And I
Mhm.
told you not to do it. But you
What
didn't learn from the other pastor who told the lady to
who
shut up.
did that? What's his name?
Yeah, what was his
Marvin
name? What's
Sapp.
his name, Aaron? No,
Uh-uh. Look like he should be
a
Martin Luther
basketball
King's
player. He looked like a
son.
basketball player to me. He's married to Shaq's wife.
Shaq's wife, yeah. God, what is his name? But
Oh,
yeah, but what he did. What's his name?
Keon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like, learn from Keon.
yeah.
Learn from Keon, because I'm sure that lady was the same way,
Yeah.
but you had to go back and apologize in a public statement because it was disrespectful the way you did it. And I'm just like, why aren't we learning? And then why are you asking why are you doing all that? Like, I don't know. It's just maybe it's PTSD. I don't know, because I just get so aggravated when I see pastors not respect, and we do not deal with that. Like, our pastor respects us, and he lets God deal with us. So it's just like, I cannot stand that. I can't stand that. The culture that we have built. And I think it's because wolves have been elevated and do what they want to do. And then,
Yeah.
that's the culture now.
I always have this thing. As long as you're not stopping the movement of God, sometimes, and I'll get ready to say, I hate to say it, I'm saying it, but sometimes sometimes you let people hang themselves. Because if you put your hands in it, it turns into something else. And then what that person really needs to learn in a lesson, they don't, because now they get 500 people on their side. under the comments telling you all.
And you the
I
bad guy.
yeah, and you gotta learn that, and part of that too is part of that is something I had to learn as a pastor. You cannot be the spirit that leadeth people. You got to give them the truth and live before them, and then you wait for God to give increase and maturity in their lives. And that's the way especially now under these climates, you know you ain't getting away with nothing.
And why are you video recording everything?
Right.
Like, so
Yeah.
I feel like there is a sacredness still, is that a word?
Mm,
A sacredness still to, like, the assembly, and I think that the message should definitely go out, but if you're gonna deal with house items, do
Do it
not record
off camera.
or do it in a way because some people are still gonna slip their phone up. Do it in a way where, people still may record, but this will not go viral because of my own flesh,
yeah,
and still handle the house matter. I
yep,
do not understand the cameras. I do not understand sometimes the, like, just the callous way that pastors deal with their parishioners, and I guess we're spoiled because we just don't have to deal with that. Like, now pastor gonna keep it real with us,
Yeah.
but it's gonna be in a respectful way, in a way where, like, I'm literally going back and interviewing myself
Yeah, I
because
think it's that
I don't
idea of
know.
like, look what God is doing. Look what he's doing. We got to show everybody what he's doing. I think it's the same thing with, people coming down to the altar, laying hands and all that kind of stuff. You're doing it on camera or you're doing all this stuff on.
Yes.
It's all about how many souls came and how many, it's yeah. The focus is on all
man, most definitely ain't
it
glorifying
ain't
God.
in no way.
No. No. It's very frustrating. That was a frustrating video for me to watch, as you can see.
Man, I tell you what, if I didn't have people that I know were needing to stream with us, I wouldn't. Or I would pre-tape, and the service that you see this Sunday was last Sunday.
Yeah.
It has been edited. I mean,
Seriously.
but everything now is people pick up their phone. It is the craziest thing to me to watch this. Is when you're from an era where none of this stuff existed, and you saw how life and how people made it. And then you look in the era now where people absolutely need this technology. They need it. It's their life will crumble without it. And it's just like, wow, that's where our mentality has evolved to. But I tell you, the person that I love to hear talk about stuff that don't make sense, what's his name? He's a Kennedy. He's an older congressman. I think he's a senator.
Senator John Kennedy in Louisiana.
Man, let me tell
Boy,
you
his
something.
sayings be having me rolling, boy. He be saying some stuff. I'm like, man,
I'll be crying.
Look him up. I gotta see what he
You
looks
got
like.
to. Just look up Senator John Kennedy's
man,
greatest moment.
he be
And
boy
man, let me tell you
to
something.
Greatest moment.
this day he be ripping, boy. I'm like, man, this dude.
He said he was talking about the shutdown. He said I can't remember Casio Cortez,
I know
whatever her
who this
name is.
is.
He's like, yeah, she's the leader of the party. He say, and these people, I keep telling them, my mama have not raised no fool. If she did, it was one of my brothers.
While he talked, he had about 5 or 6 different sayings just like that. It's
He
hilarious.
Mhm.
real
And it
country, right?
and he
Like,
Yes.
super country.
he
Mhm.
Yeah.
delivers it like you know exactly what he's saying. It's like,
Mhm.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, he don't beat around the bush.
Mm-mm.
But it's funny though, even getting back to the body of Christ and how God prepared us here at 7. God prepared us. He prepared for life, prepared 7, he prepared, and of course, global, and of course, all of the above. And I don't know, it's to hear it, to read it is different than to experience it. And we got to get the people of God. People of God, those of you that are hearing this, You have got to get to the point where you calm all the noise of all this craziness going around and see what God says. And then when you see what God says, measure everything against that.
Yes.
And if it don't line up, you have no business following it. You have no business running after. You have no business supporting it. And more importantly, you have no business being neutral about it. Because a lot of them think they're going to get away with just not saying anything, just being
Anything.
neutral. And neutrality is a position. It is a position, and it is a detrimental position because neutrality always softens you every time you're neutral to the point you can't even feel anymore. Some believers, they just can't even feel anymore. They have no consciousness. It's just, they out here. The only thing they care about is everything all right with me?
Mm.
They don't look at this right here is affecting a lot of people. What we're going through here in America is really nothing. You think about all these people that are dying over in Nigeria as Christians. I just saw read where a pastor was kidnapped from and killed. They behead people there. Man, let me tell you something. If what was going on there was going on here, there would be probably an average of 3 people, members per church
Yeah.
in the country. That's just
Uh,
how many people are not the true church. Whenever stuff start getting hot, that's when you start seeing people either become neutral or they'll go over onto the other side in a sensible, emotional way. It's all about love. That's the thing I
mm.
listen for now when people talk about, yeah, it's all about love. I know right then you do not know what you're talking about, and you're trying to skip over what the truth is. So I've gotten to that point now. I just don't even deal with that. If people cannot say the truth is the most important thing, I don't even listen to them anymore. That's why I appreciate Vodi Bakum. That's why I appreciate Det Bowers. These are people that affected my life. I appreciate, even though I don't agree with everything that she put out, but what she teaches at the university, Melissa Scott, who's always defining words. Let's not get caught up and get emotional about a word until we actually know the meaning of it. It's like we learn what meek is. Meek is to be tamed. It does not mean to be timid and to be, don't make sure you don't infringe and hurt nobody's feeling. Meek means to be tamed towards God. And if you're going to be tamed towards God, you cannot be tamed towards man.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be humble towards God, you cannot be humble towards men. Because that's the same thing as agapeing two masters. And you cannot agape, you cannot walk after the commandments of two. You will eventually walk the way the one that is ruling your heart, you will walk in that fashion. And that's what we're seeing. I'm seeing more people now. I had a girl that I used to train with. She was an Olympian. And she's always talking every time she comes on my Facebook page, and she only comes on there when she disagrees with something. I don't even understand why I don't even understand why they call that friends list. People ain't your friend. Only time they ever come on your page is when they got to say something negative about something you say. And then she made this statement. She said, that's why I love my pastor, because he stays out of politics. And I say, you got a weak pastor.
No.
You
Straight
got a
up.
weak pastor that's not telling the truth.
Yeah.
If he cannot say what God is saying, what did Daniel do? Daniel did not defile himself with the dietary standards of the country of Babylon in which he was in. And he let them know, I'm not eating this. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego will not bow. So what you're saying is your pastor teaches you to bow to golden statues, to eat things offered to idols? He ain't no pastor. He's a motivational, cultural speaker, if that be the case. So, it's just, all of this that's going on. And I know we can all get so passionate about it. But at the end of the day, we still have this resolution within us that God is in control of everything.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
That's
best part
right.
about it.
That's right.
That's the
And
best.
and you know what? The Bible tells us to be angry so that we sin not. Be angry with false teachers, those that are teaching the wrong thing. Be angry. Have a righteous indignation. You ain't got to be nasty. You just got to be firm in what's right and walk, as the Bible says, circumspect. Line upon line, precept upon precept. Do it the way that he says it. And no, 21st century does not change what God said back in the first century or times before that. But you guys got anything else? I wasn't expecting to have this long of a conversation,
I know.
but
It's good. I think the neutral thing is really good because I feel like neutral, you're in a constant state of compromise, and then you're just blown whatever way is heavier for you on that day.
mhm,
And I just think it's a really dangerous place to be. And I would just admonish, like, if you're a believer, do not compromise. Like, I think it's so key to go to the word of God about anything that you have a question about, or find a good source, find a good leader. Our church is always open, 7 Theo. If you ever just in that place where I don't have anybody and I just want to find somebody that can guide me until I'm able to understand it on my own, it's just very important because you'll end up just always swaying with the majority or with what's happening at the moment, and you'll never, I don't know, have a strong foundation to stand on and a good moral compass, because I think that's really important just to know this is what I believe and this is what I'm gonna stand on,
Yeah,
you know?
that's right.
So,
Yeah,
um,
and sowing in the spirit, you're gonna reap in the spirit. Sow in the flesh, you'll reap of the flesh. You know, that whole idea, as I mentioned, of the American dream, living in the dream or living the dream, the flesh, the culture has one way of moving, one way of thinking, and one way of affecting your emotions and controlling how you move, as compared to the spirit, the truth of God, right? And walking in that and being submitted to what God has already said and what he's already predestined from the very beginning,
yep.
and walking in that and being tamed so that we move and walk in that and make that the focus daily. Yeah.
and being wild and swinging on
You
everything
know what I'm
else.
saying?
I'm
Oh no. Well, I thank you guys again for co-hosting with me. Y'all just don't know how what that means to me. And I want to appreciate those of you that joined us here on the Truth Worth Living podcast. It is always our endeavor to tell the truth, and we will always evolve with that truth. As God give us more, we will share it. This will not be a platform that will be controversialist. We will always tackle the controversial things. We will say the things that people have in their head but are scared to say. I tell people all the time, I was canceled back in 2003, 4. So I've been canceled for 20 years now, so I'm used to it. That doesn't phase me. But what I do want to do is I'm praying that God allows us to an opportunity to have a voice in the ear of the remnant, those that he called, those that refuse to bow down to the beast system, the worldly system, those that refuse to walk in the lie to gain success in life. This American dream, it is not the dream of a believer. Believers don't have a
That's
dream.
right.
We got a
That's
call.
right.
That's right.
So we live out our call. And I want to encourage each of you. We here do not aspire to or invest in racism on either side. We're about the truth. So we don't care what you look like. Everybody's not as pretty as Angel.
Aw.
Everybody's not as pretty as my wife, but we don't care nothing about that. Everybody's not as pretty as Aaron's wife, Shonda. So, and everybody's not as aggravating as LaRon.
Lauren Hursky.
Had to get that one in there. No, but seriously though, we all come from different walks of life. None of us have ever cried we've been perfect and did everything right. Still got some issues and all that. That is not even something that we even look for with people. What we look for is people that want to see the truth of God and want to get with a community that's trying their best to perpetrate that truth and to live that truth. So if you don't have anywhere to go, if you're in the northern Texas area, we're in Salina. God, what is our address? We just We just
88,
walked into a new facility.
8818.
8818 is that
County
County
Road
Road
101.
101, and that's
8818
just
County
right.
Road 101, Salina, Texas.
Yes, feel free to come join us. We're there on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. And you can also catch us streaming live on Facebook on Wednesday nights in our life enhancement sessions with the pastors and leaders of our church teaching during those times. Um, we have some wonderful things coming up next year. We're in the process now getting ready for AFAM of next year, the AFAM reunion cruise, which will be held. Will we be on the sea on July the 4th this time?
Yes, we will.
We will be on the ocean on July the 4th this time. So whatever that week is leading up to the 4th. So we got a lot going on. We got our next couples events for those that are looking for a place to connect with couples. We have one coming up on November the 8th. So make sure you go on Seven the Oath, SEVENTHEOATH, Seven the Oath on Facebook, and you will get updates on anything that's happening in our church. And also, if you have any questions for Truth Worth Living podcast, make sure you inbox us, or you can go to our individual pages. Angel Hearst, Aaron, what is yours?
Aaron
You
Williams.
just Aaron Williams, and make sure it's the one that go to 7. All right. And myself, you can contact any of us about anything that's going on in our ministry, and we will make sure we get that information to you. And we love you guys, and y'all have a wonderful rest of the day and week.